Yo, got sick of catching up every week just to hang out on a cliff hook? Well, today is your lucky day since I am going to drop a list of already completed manhwa that you can binge all the way through. No waiting, no pain, just good storytelling. If you love action, romance, revenge, or that OP glow up, then there is something on this list that will hook you. So, now it's something, get into a comfy corner and we should go and explore some manhwa that are actually complete. So, we're almost at the end of our video, and next on the list is we have I Regressed as the Duke. Yo, I tried out I Regressed as the Duke because I was like, this is going to be one of those clever kingdom building games where the protagonist is tasked with turning around a crumbling empire, and that ain't sweet and all. But the problem is that it was mostly bland. The premise is fun, the elderly butler passes away and lives the life of his good-for-nothing young master, and now that same butler is regressed as the Duke. The characters, a few waifus are adorable, no doubt, but the rest of them are as forgettable as can be. The art is decent, but if you want serious politics or really gratifying kingdom expansion, this is not it. If you are not simply bored and want to spend time, then read this. Next is the Juvenile Offender. Yo, it is time to discuss one of the most barbaric revenge manhwa currently available, Juvenile Offender. It is not one of those school dramas. Our boy Yoon Seong is pushed far beyond the maximum, having been mercilessly mistreated and broken down to nothing. He literally makes a decision to follow in the footsteps of a juvenile delinquent, all so that he can have his vengeance in his hands. Wild, right? Very dark, intense, and yes, crazy emotional about the story. The flashbacks are rough, and every character is insane with the past that you either want to beat the hell out of or shove over. Art is straight up fire. It is tense and angry. In case you enjoy the revenge schemes of people with that attitude of not having anything to lose, then this manhwa will be entertaining to you. Next one is Level Up Doctor. I did not imagine that I would go so far with this, but here I am. The premise of Level Up Doctor is pretty straightforward. Someone dies and ends up in another person's body, a doctor in this case. It does receive that notion and does not overindulge with fantasy or science fiction. Rather, it is centered on actual medicine. No magic medicine or faked illness. The real strength of the story is its protagonist. He misses his old life so much that you sense his anger, anxiety, and motivation to become better. When I enjoy a medical drama about a supernatural story and I'm still interested in feeling of believability, this manhwa is certainly worth reading, and not the most perfect, yet very promising. Next on the list is we have Mr. War, the strongest ex-soldier. And there was this one guy named George who was pretty much the most badass soldier there ever was. People used to call him Mr. War because he was so good at it, you just know scary bad at fighting. But then, he was completely screwed by his own teammates and was killed in some conspiracy thing. Plot twist, he never dies, but wakes up in this complete nightmare called Industrial West Island. Now, he finds himself at the bottom of the food chain as one of the worthless slaves called Michiho. But this is the thing, he retains all his military talents and his big brain of his, of course, going to climb his way back to take revenge on all those that betrayed him. To be frank, the environment is quite brutal. If you want some revenge story manhwa, then you can definitely read this. Next on the list is we have Quest Supremacy. So, if you like those type of story where the underdog finds crazy abilities, Quest Supremacy is the place to be. So, Shu Hyun is this gamer nerd who is bullied everywhere at school, but then he receives a real-life quest like in an RPG. He begins to grind, level up, and become a big boss in his school. It is a simple story and frankly it is so addictive. So, what was it that hooked me though? The art is also so clean and stylish, definitely some of the best I have seen. The side characters genuinely count and even have their tunes, such as this eyebrow guy who is undeniably funny. This is recommended at least if you like cool blend of systems, cool drama, and some decent character scenes. Not joking, it is a crazy experience you cannot and will not skip. Moving on, we have Shincon's One Coin Clear. The protagonist is a top-tier pro gamer from an old VR game which hardly anyone can remembers. But his sister is stuck in that game Dantalion, which is the hottest VR game on the market. This isn't your usual MMORPG. A deadly glitch trapped millions of players inside and 20 million players died trying to escape. Yeah, it's basically that SAO vibes. Despite never touching Dantalion, our MC jumps into this game with pure determination to save his only family. He is not perfect, and the story isn't groundbreaking. Watching his try to save his sister make this worthy to read. Moving on to the list, we have is Sorry, my skills are automatically maxed out. This guy was mocked for awakening the most basic mage class, but they don't think that his skills were already maxed out. Everyone expected Zhang Li to get a legendary class, but the moment he woke up as a mere basic mage, the entire school laughed. His bullies regarded him as trash, but the twist is that he possesses a secret system which makes all his skill max out automatically. Where other mages are having problems with level 1 fireballs, he's throwing out explosions. Even a single simple fireball can destroy a whole wave of monsters. One day he is a laughing stock in a school, and the next moment an absolute monster. If you're looking for a weak to OP MC, then read this. Starting off with the Supreme Way. The Supreme Way begins quite awesomely. Human beings can act as gods and follow them in their footsteps. They can choose their own realms of deity and create and establish kingdoms according to what they desire. Nonetheless, the idea dies out quickly. The plot is mixed up, and this is very similar to a writer who wanted to do a lot but did not know what to do. One chapter it seems to be about godhood, the next it is random power-ups and head-scratching world rules. The time is crazy and the narration kind of fails. Add in a crappy translation and I just can hardly stick with it. Ultimately, it is one of those lubricated manhwas that is better on paper than in execution. You may avoid it unless you are a fan of super chaotic cultivation stories. Moving on is we have Two Moon. At the beginning of the story, we see a young prince disappearing into the forest and reappearing shortly after in the form of something that is not really human. Immediately, we are given a combination of mystery, thriller, and a touch of the supernatural. He is a monster and his abilities have gone beyond the words of showmanship because he is a fighter. And he delivers on it so beautifully, shutting down all the haters that do not see him as he actually is. In case you love revenge, royalty, and revival tales supplemented with a dark touch, Two Moon certainly hits the spot. And finally, we have is Updater. Updater is much more than a revenge story. It begins with the character named Iten, who is a glitched NPC who has lost everything due to the destruction of his town by a system admin. However, due to that malfunction, he becomes an updater, in other words, an administrator who can modify the code of his world in a way. The art itself is A+ all the way, and the characters super well written. You are genuinely concerned about their hardships and their problems. The story of Iten has an emotional strength to it as he aids people and at the same time figures out the truth within the machinery. Updater is a must read because you will get a smart, emotional manhwa with a real character growth.